All right.
Coach, is the biggest difference in this Auburn team this year their quarterback, Nick Marshall?
Well, I mean, Nick obviously is brand new to their team, but Coach Malzahn and his staff and his system and his way of doing things, I would have to think is the biggest difference. And Nick has benefited from that, and obviously Auburn's benefited from Nick being there as well. But just from a production standpoint at the quarterback position, he's been very dynamic for them. But you got to, when you have a coaching change and can have this much success that fast, it's more than one player, I can promise you.
What do you remember out of him as a player on your team?
Yeah. Very athletic, very great competitor, tough kid.
And last question for me. Second time this season you're going up against a former player, both quarterbacks. What's that like for you? How do you prepare to?
Yeah, you just prepare like every other week. You find out their strengths and weaknesses just like any other position across the board, and you try to get the best plan, and then you go play.
Have you ever had a player join your team that had been just dismissed from another team?
Probably not. Probably not. I can't think of one. There's probably one somewhere along the way.
That's why I asked you.
I can't think of one right now. Anybody else? Everybody wanted to ask about Nick, I guess. So that's it. No. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, how do you force your team to stick with the game plan and not get excited when there's such a big rivalry?
Yeah, well, what you hope is that you ingrain some habits in practice, that when you do get in front of the crowd and you do get in a big game and you do get behind or whatever it is, you get kind of hyped up, ready to play this game, that your habits will take over. Because when the emotions go away and you start getting fatigued, I mean, you're kind of left with what habits you've created during your practices. So that's what you hope to do in practice is get those practice well enough and ingrain those habits well enough to where it just comes more natural to those guys. So that's what you hope for.
With a team like this, obviously is going to run the ball and then they're going to pass it.
Yeah.
Does it focus this week on how you guys get guys in and out, keep them running fresh?
Well, I mean, that'll be part of it. Keeping our line fresh would be important, our defensive line. But I think, more than that, it's going to be about staying in your gap, defeating the block, playing the right kind of leverage, being able to tackle, being able to get a guy on the ground, and then being disciplined enough to where if they've got some type of play action pass, which they will, and they're going to take a shot deep, that you're not just totally out of position because you're so honed in on playing the run. And when teams that run the ball as well as they do, the minute they throw some kind of play pass, they're probably going to have somebody open. They're probably going to have, hopefully not wide open, but so they'll have opportunities, especially if we're not disciplined on the back end with our eyes being where they should be.
You have a long shot at being in the SEC championship again, but is that what you focus on? These
Yeah.
last 3 games, or was it kind of
Yeah.
the season right?
No, we're playing for the Eastern Division. That's it. And until it's impossible, that's what we're playing for and fighting for.
You covered all the defensive moves a minute ago. What's your offense got to do?
Offensive goals, well, we're pretty serious about running the ball too. We don't run it quite as often, and certainly don't have the production rushing the ball as Auburn does. But we do have a pretty good mix of run and pass, and I think they go hand in hand. I think they both have to be successful, and everything starts up front. Your linemen have got to create space for your runners and create a good pocket for your quarterback to allow him to operate and get the ball to the skilled people. So wrap up the ball, be wise, don't be dangerous with the ball. And those are some of the things we hope for offensively.
What is the biggest difference you see in your team from
The biggest what?
difference
Okay.
in your team from the beginning of the season to this
Well, there's a few guys that aren't playing with us that did early on. That's the biggest difference I see. I think when you get this deep into the season, whoever was brand new, whether it's a junior college transfer or whether it was a first-time starter who might have already been in your program a few years, or there aren't any more rookies out there. There may be a guy that just started to get to play, like a Rump. He's still more like a rookie, so to speak. It's not like he's got 10 games under his belt right now or anything like that. But I think the guys that were quote unquote inexperienced are experienced now, and it's time to play that way.
Time for one more.
Coach, it seems like in the past, these six couple that I can think of, there's always something on the line in this game. Is that what makes this
Yeah.
rivalry so big?
Well, when you play a team 116 times, there's a lot of history, obviously, a lot of good history, bad history, stuff that makes you happy, stuff that makes you sad, makes you mad maybe. So, and then you recruit against the same, for the same guys year after year after year. So it's just big because of that. But they're obviously playing for a chance to win the West, and we still think we are. We're still in the running for the East. So it's very big. Both teams ranked in the top 25, and certainly national implications more for them than us. But it is big for a lot of reasons. Okay.